Our first mailbag question is a super chat from Lunatic. La'el Collins and hip surgery. How worried are you? It seems like Collins is in better shape this year. He missed all of last year because of that hip problem. I think he's going to be okay. The fact that the Cowboys didn't bring in really any, players to compete with La'el Collins makes me think that he's going to be just fine on that one. So panic level is like a 1 or a 2. Maybe a 3 if I'm being objective and honest. From Jeff Reed, Steelers signed Melvin Ingram. Thoughts? I think it makes some sense. I still want and think Alex Highsmith should be the lead edge rusher for Pittsburgh, of course, opposite TJ Watt. But Ingram on what I assume is a cheap 1-year deal makes a lot of sense. I think he'll be a good fit in Pittsburgh, whether he's the number 2 or the number 3 edge rusher. So I think from that perspective, it's a good move by Pittsburgh. From Shanav, what's the most overhyped play in the NFL? If you mean play call, I'm going to go with the stupidest one, which is when offenses run the ball inside of 2 minutes on like 1st and 10, even though they just don't throw it and they're just trying to run out the clock when they can just kneel. It's stupid. It doesn't bring you anything. It's a bad decision. Most overhyped like individual play, I think that there's too much blame against Seattle for throwing it on 2nd down. It actually did make sense to throw it with what they had time and timeouts left, but the result was a disaster, so I get it. I'll be honest, I think the Odell Beckham catch is a little bit overblown. Like, yes, it was incredible. Make no mistake about it. They did lose the game, though. So, all right, from Luke Miller, is Richard Sherman's career over? I don't know, man. Like, I don't really think that the priority for anyone involved in that situation is about his career at this point. It's about finding a way to get Richard Sherman into the right position, get his head correctly on, like get him the help that he needs. Look, he's clearly been going through some stuff, and that does not excuse what happened, but that's the reasoning behind it. So I don't know. Let's see what happens as the offseason and, frankly, this point maybe season goes on. From Trevor Goodale, what's the percentage you give the Patriots on winning the Super Bowl in 2021? I think it's low. I don't think current Cam Newton is good enough. I don't think Mac Jones is there yet either as a franchise quarterback. So I think from a percentage chance, you're looking pretty low. I don't think it's a great year if Patriots win a Super Bowl, but make it to the playoffs might be closer to 50-50. From Shanav, 5 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers. Drew Lock is missing wide-open receivers in practice. We need Rodgers, Teddy is in. Here's the problem with moving just picks, although I think 5 probably gets it done for Aaron Rodgers. If you're Green Bay, you know those 5 first-round picks, or at least like 3 of the 5, are not going to be early first-rounders. Those are going to be late first-round picks. So that does bring down the value. But I do think Denver makes the most sense for Aaron Rodgers if, of course, he gets traded this year or, frankly, into next year as well. All right, quick question for you guys. I'm looking to do some more spreads and line stuff this year on Chat Sports, but only if it intrigues you guys. So do you bet on football? Get your votes in for me, Y for yes or N for no. This question will be the pinned comment, by the way, on today's video. So get the ad break here, scroll on down, and let me know. From Jeremy Rutherford, or Rutherford, however you pronounce it, Zeke will get 2,000 this year. Yards, I assume. Prove everybody wrong. If Zeke gets 2,000 yards, it means the Cowboys are able to lean on him and close out games. They probably win like 12 games this year. And Randy Gregory will get 10, I assume you mean 10 sacks there. If both those things happen, that's a really good season for the Dallas Cowboys, I would assume. From Kyle, expectations for Trey Lance in his rookie year. I think for year one, whether he starts or week 1 or becomes the starter, Lance will take over and not give the job back at some point this season as the starting quarterback. I think Lance, although like the pre-game week NFL stuff he was doing in North Dakota State, the prep work is NFL ready, there is still a pretty big jump he's going to have to face as it relates to NFL talent. So I don't think he's going to be Justin Herbert in year 1. He'll probably be better than, say, Peyton Manning in year 1. If he can show flashes of being a franchise quarterback and or be good enough for the Niners to still win games, be a good game manager with some more explosive plays, that's a really good start for San Francisco. The Lunatic, bigger second-year jump, Tyler Biadasz or Gallimore? This is a super chat, by the way. I lean towards Tyler Biadasz because he's an obvious starter. He is the center for this team. Neville Gallimore might be more of a rotational defense lineman, so I think Biadasz is a better opportunity to have that big-time jump in year 2. From C. Garcia 54, if Sherman ever plays again, does he take the vet minimum or not? That's really tough for me to know. It depends on what happens off the field, where Sherman's at in his headspace. At this point, I think that a cheap contract is what it would likely end up being for him. We'll see, but I do think that's where they're at right now, at least where Sherman's at right now. But again, it's a wait and see, and football is not the priority for Sherman either. From Pacific University, should the Browns pay Nick Chubb or Wyatt Teller first? Now, that's a tough question. Both are awesome. I think Nick Chubb definitely has bigger brand recognition, was drafted earlier than Wyatt Teller. But I think both these guys are top 10, frankly, if not maybe top 5. Might be pushing it for Teller at their respective positions. The question is, do you want to pay the running back, which will be expensive, and the recent history of contracts for the Browns has not been particularly good, or for running backs, I should say, not particularly good, or Teller, which would have you paying 2 guards, very expensive money, but offensive line play heavily matters for the running back. So with that in mind, I think here's the question I'm asking. What is the more important position? Running back or investing more on the offensive line? Get your votes in for me. This is a potential running backs matter conversation. If you want to make it one, in the comments section. Type R for RB or type O for offensive line. From Matt the Gamer, who will pick up Adrian Peterson? It's a good question. I think there will be some semblance of interest, but Peterson and his problem here is that he's an old back who does not help on special teams, and he's not a great pass catcher, which means all of a sudden you've got an older back who has to almost be your lead back, and that's a very narrow subset of teams that make sense. Currently, I think a team like the Dolphins could be a fit for Adrian Peterson, or maybe he waits for an injury and goes there. From Style Stunner, Broncos trade Drew Lock to the Texans for Deshaun Watson and 2 first-round picks. So I assume you mean that the 2 first-round picks are going to Houston and not the other way around. It's a typo. That's what I assume there. Look, Deshaun Watson's trade value is such a complete unknown right now. I don't have a great feel for if he's going to even play this year. So value-wise, I still think you probably want another asset or 2 if you're Houston, but it's a decent start if you're Denver. If you guys want some free stuff, the Newsbreak app is free to download right now at chatsports.com/newsbreak. That link will be in the comment section and in the description. Not only do you support the show when you use our link, you also get essential local news sent right to your phone. National stuff, too, as well. Essential updates. chatsports.com/newsbreak. Local news, weather, politics, food, pop culture, and, of course, the Chat Sports videos as well for your favorite NFL team or teams. So download the app today at chatsports.com/newsbreak. As a reminder, I'll make sure to put that link in the comments section and in the description to make your lives just a little bit easier. From Robert Bruce, hello Tom, hello Jack. What do you think is the Patriots' most glaring need right now? I'm thinking deep threat receiver. What about you? Now, Jack, you're a Patriots fan. So if you want to unmute yourself here, I'm fine with you answering this particular question. Biggest Patriots need right now? No, you're not. So, all right, Jack's not going to unmute himself then. 0 for 1 on Jack. Big time out. I don't think it's deep threat receiver. I think it's just receiver in general, which is what Jack just told me in my ear, by the way. I think that they have a deep threat. Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne can play that role. They don't have a number 1 receiver right now. From 4Hyper3, channel friend, who is the most underrated defensive player right now? I have said this for quite a while now. I think Jesse Bates is very underrated. I thought it was Justin Simmons, And then he got paid, so I think the NFL's caught up there. I think right now, though, Jesse Bates, who I think is a top 5 safety in the NFL, and he's not a great tackler, but he's so good in coverage, more than makes up for it. From Andrew Gonzalez, how do you think Landon Dickerson will do this year? That is the Alabama offensive lineman who was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm very curious to see what type of role Dickerson has this year. I think long-term, he is a center. Now, he's recovering from ACL surgery. He might miss some points in camp. Can he beat out Isaac, and I might mispronounce last name, Suomalo? That might be wrong. If so, I'm sorry. For the left guard spot? If so, that's great, Philadelphia. Long-term, though, I think he's the future center for the Eagles, whether it's probably next year or beyond. Aquaman's hair with a Dolphins question somehow feels very fitting. Will Allen Hurns get cut? I think it's possible. The Dolphins have some tough decisions to make at the wide receiver position because Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, they ain't going anywhere. I would think that Preston Williams and maybe even more so Lynn Bowden are basically roster locks. So barring injury, even with full suspension, that's 5 guys right there. That leaves Jakeem Grant, Albert Wilson, Robert Foster, Allen Hurns, Malcolm Perry, Matt Collins, Isaiah Ford, guys who have all played and started NFL games. I think Ford started at least one, who are fighting for like 1 or 2 spots. So Allen Hurns' release would save, I believe, like just under $2.5 million. That's some decent money to be saved. So I would lean towards yes, Hurns does end up getting cut. Speaking of players getting cut, let me know in the comments section a player who you want your favorite team to cut. Keep it realistic, I would assume, but let me know what you guys are thinking there in the comment section. Feel free to be a bit of a hater. From Noah E. Grayson, will Dak Prescott win MVP? I think he's a decent value bet. In general, the MVP does not go to the best player in the NFL. It goes to one of the best players on one of the best teams who in most cases exceeds expectations. If the Cowboys win, say, 11 games and Dak Prescott's carrying the offense again, that's going to put him inside that MVP conversation. For Mark Mulo, hey Tom, how are you? I'm great, Mark. Thank you so much for asking. Is there anything the Packers brass could do to keep Rodgers in Green Bay? Part of these issues right now for Green Bay and Rodgers are long-standing. They didn't listen to him the way he wanted them to. Fair or not, feedback from Rodgers there. And I think the drafting of Jordan Love didn't help things either. If the Packers were to, trade Jordan Love and give Rodgers a new extension, I think that would make things better. But at this point, I wonder if long-term, if Rodgers just doesn't want to be there anymore. From Hardman Fanatic, name a wide receiver the Chiefs should draft in 2022 if Mecole Hardman doesn't end up emerging. So first on Hardman, look, he's been a bit of a disappointment, so Hardman Fanatic, I am a little bit sorry on that front that he hasn't really been the guy that I think everyone was hoping he was going to be. The Chiefs have shown time and time again they love speed overall as it relates to their wide receiver core. So you've got Tyreek Hill. Pringle's decently fast. DeMarcus Robinson's got some speed. Cornell Powell's, I think, a little bit more of I still think a number 4 there. It depends on how early the Chiefs want to go out and add a wide receiver. If they want a bigger body guy, Drake London, Treylon Burks, I am very intrigued by those particular players. If Justin Ross is healthy, I like that one. John Mechie could be the next guy up there. Reggie Robinson's got some decent speed. He's coming off an injury. So both Ohio State players, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. That's a lot of names I just mentioned because this receiver draft class, as it sits early right now, guess what? It's good. This is going to be the trend going forward around the NFL and the NFL draft. The receiving classes are almost always going to be quite good. Now, if you guys want more NFL videos, including NFL draft coverage, hit that big red button and subscribe. All of our videos are free, so don't miss out. Hit that big red button and subscribe today. From Salvador Renteria, Xavier Howard of the Saints for Cesar Ruiz and a first-round pick. Now, you've got a Dolphins profile picture in there, so I think this is more of a Dolphins favorite deal. Ruiz would help the Dolphins' offensive line, be it at center or guard. I kind of want to see him at center if he were to go to Miami. A first-round pick, though, is a lot. That's probably a bit too much with Ruiz. A second and Ruiz, though, or just a first and some other minor asset, that might be a little bit more in line, I think, with the Xavier Howard trade value right now.